All right, we're live in the place to be. Big fight this weekend, man. This one I've been actually anticipating out of all the fights coming up. Summer's kind of dry this year, so to speak. I mean, there's a couple of cards next month. This one though is, regardless if it's even in the summertime. I mean, this is one of the more anticipated ones of the year. We're gonna have a train hopping on in a minute. Gonna talk about this fight, man. Xander Zayas Boots Ennis, live Brooklyn, New York City. Shout out to all my Brooklyn fam out there. Let's see how they got train coming on here. I'm officially subscribed to DAZN, by the way, man. I took the dive. I mean, we got the entire boxing for the most part under one umbrella, man. What up, Train? What up?
What up, my boy? What's good with you?
What is good, man? You know it's crazy. You and I are from the same era, so you remember back in the day when we were wrapping up school, but we were looking for, because you and I are the movie buffs of the crew, right?
Absolutely, to the
And
core.
the summer movies were coming, right? And we were all anticipating it, and like all kinds of all the crazy, over the top movies that we would all go to the theaters to see. In this day and age, it's kind of simmered down a little bit. It's not really much of the same,
Absolutely.
but we might have a movie this weekend.
I like
And
nice
it's going to be
segue.
taking place in
I like
Brooklyn,
how
New
you
York
built that.
City. So this was a fight, man. Like you and I talked about this, offline and with ROD and with with the whole crew and everybody.
Yeah,
And this is one that anytime you have a fight where people are discussing intangibles and like, man, what if it goes this way? What if it goes
right.
that way? Usually, it spells potentially for a good fight, man. But the fight, obviously, I'm talking about Xander Zayas, Boots Ennis, live Barclays Center this weekend on DAZN. So before you got on, I was saying I
Absolutely.
took the plunge. I'm on, I'm
Yeah.
subbed to DAZN. Hey, man, like I'm all about value, and for what they have at this stage, man, they got like 90% of boxing under one umbrella, man. So can't really beat it at the end of the day. I mean, I hopped in.
Feet on land, man. No more surfing.
But you know what it was? It was the Inoue and Nakatani fight. I'm watching it.
Yeah.
I managed to watch it, and I still have access. But the last 3 rounds I missed, and those last three rounds, some stuff happened in those rounds. So
Yeah.
even remember, I was telling you, I'm like, man, I'm teeter tottering. I think we're gonna. That instance made me just. I'm like, you know what? Sub to it. Did the yearly joint. Get all the pay-per-views. And there have been fights that I've watched not being at the crib, and them joints coming
Yeah.
good, like anywhere I'm at.
hmm
So I hopped the cliff, man. I'm a subscriber.
No more blowing in Nintendo cartridges, bro.
Yeah, man.
For those who remember that struggle back then, that's what it's
Oh.
equivalent to. Like, I'm not watching no glitched out. I'm not watching no glitched out video game. I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
no. And
I mean,
listen,
you got it on your phone too, and it rocks. Like,
and
for
it's
me, like I don't got an iPhone 16. I mean, I'm
yeah,
about to, but I rock. It's perfect, man. Like the quality's great, and like if you're watching a fight in real time, right, and you get off the app and you go back in,
right.
it'll leave you off. It'll ask you want to leave off where you left off, so there's no spoilers, or you want to go
Absolutely,
back
absolutely.
to the live, which
Okay,
I
wow.
like.
Hold on, let me make sure. Hold on, let me. All right, bro. Yeah. So
But no,
yeah,
let's
man.
but yeah,
Yeah,
man.
get it.
I'll throw it over to you, man. I mean, like I said, this is one of the more anticipated fights. Um, I think in recent memory, when you consider like because boxing's a lot of it is context. We'll discuss a lot of the context, which to us makes the fights intriguing. But in this instance, man, one thing people ain't talking about, man. Somebody else got to go.
Somebody
That's
else,
an
somebody
element,
else
the
gotta
old element.
go, or
Yep.
a draw may cause a stall. So
Right.
it's interesting because this, like you said, this is the first opponent for Boots and Xander where you can break down intangibles, nuances. No matter who you picking in a fight, Obviously, Boots is the older fighter. Boots is the more, polarizing fighter. Boots is the guy that look like he got that, that stardom level inside of him. Not that Xander don't either, but I think Xander's style is more catered, and which is interesting. And I'm gonna pivot back to the whole Puerto Rican aspect to all of this because this is a big part of it as well. The lineage and an important role that Puerto Rican fighters played in the sport. But Xander got a style that's only going to jump off the charts to boxing fans. Like, you're not a boxing guy, you're not going to really be able to dissect what he brings to the table because it's we talked about nuances, is very, very subtle nuances like timing, footwork, rather it's stage left, stage right, north and south, jabs to the solar plexus. He got little subtle things that he do that's not going to jump off the chart. So if a casual observer look at Zayas and they look at Boots, it's going to be like, oh, this dude's going to smoke this dude. Like, it's not even a comparison. Boots also got more hype behind him. Obviously, Boots come from a Mecca, from the Caribbean, from Philly. No pressure, but, we had a lot of great fighters that come out of here, but Boots is kind of one-on-one. The closest thing to Boots, and I'm just talking about eye test. I'm not talking about before people go crazy. I'm saying, like, Meldrick was an Olympian. Meldrick was athletic, speedy fighter, and Meldrick could box. But Meldrick wasn't looked at as like a freak athletic type of fighter like how Boots. He's drawing parallels to guys like Roy Jones and things of that nature. So Boots is the first of his kind. Phillies are known for, look, it's a diehard, it's a underdog city. It's a diehard sports fan is what I was going to, sports town. But it's always been about the underdog. Like most guys, like Danny, Bernard, had to overcome a lot to get where they had to get to. Many other fighters, I just put up a post with Animal Fletcher, Philly's own, middleweight guy that never reached to the next level of stardom. But we had a lot Cyclone Hearts. I mean, the list goes on of these guys that just didn't get their proper due. So Boots come along all these years later, and that's all been debunked. Boots is the guy that's expected to win from the fans. Boots is the guy that other people from other places like, oh, I wish we can get one of those that come from our city like that. So Boots got superior eye-popping talent outside the ring and inside the ring against the guy that's coming from Puerto Rico. It's almost like the roles is reversed here because Trinidad was kind of fulfilling that role that I'm talking about now for Boots, and Bernard was like the Xander role. It's like the roles are reversed where Xander's looked at the guy that's, got to do all he can to get this win on Saturday. But I think it's an intriguing fight. I know you think it's an intriguing fight, and we can get into the X's and O's of it all.
Yeah, you touched on a lot of good points. And it's interesting because one of the points I made when I talked to you earlier was, boxing a lot of times the matchups, the timing means a lot, and
It does.
this is the intriguing part of this fight where the criticism at least that Boots gets, and sometimes it's not maybe directly at him, and maybe in and around like how old he is and what stage of his career he's at in relation to Xander Zayas is like 22,
Right.
23, and you can argue for each guy this is their biggest fight. So
Absolutely.
So that's why it's the timing of this fight. It's again, like, I salute Xander for taking this fight because at least on the surface, this is a leap in competition for him. I mean, let's not kid ourselves here because the thing with Boots, at least you could say, is like how other fighters historically have fought like older veterans that we know the names of, be it like a Delorme, right? Who was, I forgot if he was a world champion or not, but like either contender or a belt holder. I think he fought Lipinets as well, another former world champion, fought Mikey Garcia and these guys. So he has that. Boots has like names, at least he was coming up fighting that you could say, well, he fought like a former this, that. But in the totality of it all, it really is even up going into this fight. And you mentioned pressure. The part, and I think you kind of touched on it, like the Puerto Rican element in this fight and where this fight is at. Now, Philly's down the block, right? And Philly travels. But we all know, particularly you've been to fights in Madison Square
I was
Garden.
ready to say, with all due respect to Philly, and I want to forewarn people because I was in the building for both big events that took place up there for Philly for when they fought a icon like the Trinidad's and the Miguel Cotto's, and is it the parade this weekend or did that already happen?
Yeah, it already happened, but it would normally happen in and around, right? Correct.
That's what. That's the Cotto fight was doing the Puerto Rican parade.
Yeah,
with all that being said, listen, the term New Yorker wasn't just made up out of the sky. There's, first of all, like Brooklyn is bigger than Philly, just that one borough.
Yeah.
You got a lot of Puerto Ricans that come from Brooklyn. East Harlem, Spanish Harlem. It's so many different, and I ain't getting into all the other. I'm just naming two places off the top of the dome. They're gonna have it locked down. They're gonna be mad deep in that joint. Like it's Philly gonna be in the building for sure, but it's different. It's just gonna be different, bro. You Puerto Rican, you know how it is, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing is like there's so many moving pieces with this fight because it's like I was saying, like this is the first rodeo.
I'll be in the building, by the way. I'll be there.
Oh yeah. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So, I'll be up in the building. Me and Sleep going.
This is shout to Sleep.
Yeah.
This is a first for both guys. And this is why, like, when they announced this fight, I know we were looking forward to Virgil and Boots, which, mind you, with all this stuff now clearing up with Golden Boy, I thought to suggest we still don't get that down the road. But when they announced,
but at least it's in the right direction. For Virgil needs to be in the ring, man. He's been out the ring, on and off way too much. Boxing is better when young guys are active. It is what it is. I'm tired of the old guys from 2017. No, them guys is done with. Yeah, so that's another rant. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm the same boat.
Yeah.
But when they announced this fight and it was going through, like it became like I get it. Like I get where people were saying, this kid's gonna get, he's gonna get dusted and everything. Like as time goes on, like with every fight, you start to pick at it. You're like, oh well, Xander is a little bigger, he boxes, he moves a bit, he's got really good technique. And this is Boots' second fight at 154. And then all the intangibles were adding about where it's at. I have to think that Xander, and I would argue this, it much more than Berlanga, I feel that there's this watchful eye. Because the thing with the Puerto Ricans and the Mexicans too, but the Puerto Ricans are very adamant on like keeping that like second and third eye on the new talent. And who's next? Xander he fits the mold.
He does. He's very articulate. He's very intelligent, very mature for his age.
Now you got guys like the little guys like Collazo and who's
right.
the fighter. But
it is. But this is different.
When we talk about mass appeal, right?
The mass, right? The crossover appeal. Money flowing like crapper, bro.
Shout to Philly because I
know where the came from. Yep, that's family. Youngsters. Yep. Cleared the hook. Yeah, but go ahead. Yeah.
So that's the thing with Xander. Like, and this goes back to the point of that night. Like, I feel this is a much different situation than Edgar Berlanga, where I feel with and particularly the kind of fight it is, it's all gonna be encompassing, man. And that's why, like, you're going, man. I can't imagine like what that crowd's gonna be like, particularly when they first come down to the ring, because it might take. Man, listen, you always tell me the Cotto Judah fight that you went to, and how you could feel that arena like when
No, you can feel the vibration, bro.
This is the stage. I mean, this is essentially the stage right now, and where both guys are at in their careers, man. It's a launcher either way. I feel Boots beating Xander, man. That's his best win right now, and he's a 2-division world champion. And some would even argue he might be the top guy, winning the fight this weekend.
I think this is like a character win for either guy. It'll
Yeah.
define like who, like what their character. Not that, because let me just say this too, twofold. I don't want whoever lose to be looked at as they was overrated.
Yeah.
Um, you know how we do. We throw them way in the back of the line, into the lost and found pile.
Yeah.
And I also don't want to overreact either. Either guy that win that mean like, oh, they're the best fighter, whatever. Even though people are going to do that by nature, I just think that both guys, given both guys' resumes, and listen, Boots catch a bad rap. There's a lot of circumstantial reasons why he couldn't fight a lot of the guys that he wanted to fight at the time. I don't want to get into all that. It was some, promotional things, managerial things, and timing is just everything in boxing. Obviously, Xander came along way different. He was signed at 16 by a major label, which is Top Rank, who has pretty stellar historical track record of signing great fighters. I mean, if you need to know, then go Google. If you don't know, you might want to Google.
Yeah.
Those who do know what I'm talking about. So they don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't make a lot of mistakes, finding talent and signing them. So just the fact that they signed Xander, and it's unfortunate because I think both guys are going to level up in this fight. Not that both of them were fighting down to their competition. I just think that boredom sets in, and just by nature, look, everybody's not going to be Floyd Mayweather, the Andre Wards. They never have off nights. They don't. Like Floyd, Andre Ward, the Bernard. Well, Bernard had a few, but for the most, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
These are like the next level guys when it comes to discipline. So they're not gonna never fight down to their competition. Now Boots and Xander may get there from here on out, but I just think that they was fighting down to their competition. So when I think both guys is gonna level up, I think that there is a lot of pressure on both guys. I think there's a lot of pressure on Boots, obviously being from Philly, carrying the mantle, and he's got pressure by the machine to be next up. Eddie Hearns has said, some very glowing things about him being one of the greatest prospects he ever seen in his life, so on and so forth. And Xander, obviously, because he got a whole nation behind him and his heritage and, the lineage of the Tito's and the Cottos and the list goes on, the Camachos. Berlin, they tried to play that hand, but you and I already knew this was the hand that should have been played right here, But what I mean by the pressure, I do think Boots got a little bit more pressure on him than Xander because Xander obviously is a younger guy. Not nobody. A lot of people aren't expecting him to win. It's kind of like another situation as a fault mechanism there. Not that you want to go into a fight like that, but I'm just saying, I just think Boots, given the press that's been around him, you know how it go, bro. People wait for that other shoe to drop. So if Boots was to lose, and it depends on how he loses, of course, but if he was to lose, I think obviously it would be it'd be a lot more noise around that than with Xander. I think the crowd is a big factor. You know what I always say, if you listen to the crowd, you'd be laying next to him. And Bernard, I always joke about what Bernard used to say, like when he said, if me and Floyd ever fight, it's gonna be a staring contest the first 5 rounds because we both patient.
Yeah.
And I just feel like both guys got to display extreme patience because both guys can run each other into something. Because the thing about Xander, I think a lot of people are not giving him credit for. He's a good counterpuncher, and he got good feet. So a guy with good feet and got good counterpunching ability, you can run somebody into something, and you can, and timing offsets speed. This is a fact. It's a known, it's proven. There's data out there that timing can offset speed, and Boots just got to be careful of not being over anxious. Right. Remember, it's a 36-minute contest. Yes, knockouts are great if they're available. But if they're not available, you don't go reaching for them because you could potentially get knocked out yourself. So he just got to be patient, be disciplined. If the knockout there, it'll come. But I just think that in a fight of this magnitude, there's very little room for mistake because the crowd is going to make a big deal about everything that happens. But I just think that, man, neck up. I think this is a neck up. You know me, bro. Everything comes down to IQ. And I just feel like the guy that's the most patient and display that mental fortitude of not rushing shots, setting shots. Again, keyword setting shots up. Boots got a nice jab, but always say you got to throw the jab with a purpose, not just for like flashiness.
Right.
Use the jab as a civilizer.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Britt earlier talk about putting a jab in Xander's chest, because Xander, he boxes on his tippy toes, and that's the way you can civilize, a bouncy fighter is putting a jab on his chest. And the same thing going reverse for Zayas. He got to do the same thing to offset Boots' rhythm. So,
yeah.
No,
yeah, I think also, too, the corners. Like, the corners are going to be key in this fight,
most importantly.
Big time. I mean, and you look at when we talk about the fighters, I mean, for both corners, this is their biggest test today, too. And we always talk about adjustments, and I think there's going to be points in this fight where the corners may play a key role in kind of seeing the fight a way that, if Boots is having issues or Xander's starting to have some issues, or just to give each fighter like a different look into the next round to offset kind of like them, always telling. And this is what made Floyd so great. It was like he was always like 2 steps ahead. When somebody thought they figured him out, he was already like over here. And you got to play that game. And I think it can end up being that. And I think, again, it roots back to just the timing of where both guys are at in their careers. Like Xander, he's younger, but Boots equally, like, they're like I said, each guy's is like toughest competition to date.
Right.
Xander's got really good technique. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I think about if Xander had like not even Tito power, but like maybe like 80% of it, right? Like people might be talking about this fight maybe a little different, but I think what it's looked at is, and I agree. I mean, I think on paper, Boots is the harder puncher. He's faster.
For sure.
Yeah. But again, like you mentioned, timing beats speed. And we've seen a lot of guys that weren't the fastest guy in the ring, but the timing offset a lot. And if that guy doesn't have a plan B and C, that's where things get interesting. And this is what we're trying to figure out if we're going to see this in this fight, But I'm intrigued, man. Like I'm really excited for the fight.
I mean, I think too, and I think you would agree with me here. I think for Xander, he got to weather those first 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where it gets, like most of Boots' opponents got overwhelmed within them rounds, with the exception of Karen, obviously that fight. But for the most part, for Boots' opponents, they're overwhelmed within that first 5 rounds. So once the fight plays out, and Xander like, oh, I'm still here, and I'm being competitive. Believe, like Matt's always got this saying about belief. Belief is like a skill set. You start believing, like, okay, I'm here. Some of the stuff I thought I was seeing on film is real, and now now it's a game of like psychological warfare, because now we're both in a place that's somewhat uncharted territory. I don't know how many times Xander went to the distance. I think he won a couple times, but they haven't won a lot between the two of them. So I think most importantly, both fighters, you got to be prepared, which I know they are. I know how hard Boots train. I know how hard Xander train. Both guys got to be prepared to go 36 minutes, because a boxing match is not always over in 3 to 4 rounds. And the more and more you step your competition up, speaking of Trinidad, we talked about Tito, we talked about that with him. Like the more and more he heightened up his competition, things got more, tricky for him. Obviously the opposition was a lot more superior, but I just think that he gotta not fall into the crowd. And here's another thing, young guys. This is where young guys get in trouble. As we saw with Vargas and Tito, you get hit with a shot, you don't have to match the shot. You don't have to match every big shot back you get caught with. All right, cool. You got me with that shot. I'm gonna continue to work the ring and continue to set my shots up and not try to go mano a mano with you, because if I think if he plays that game, he's gonna get knocked out, and that's just being real, But if he tries to outbox Boots, now the one caveat of him moving around and because he there's pretty good decent feet. Like I said, his stuff is not going to jump out on film to the casual observer, but to you and I, we know you don't need to be Rigondeaux or Lomachenko. You don't need to be that. You just need subtle footwork. That's it. Subtle movement can give anybody issues.
Yeah.
But the thing about it, you just don't want you don't want those feet to get heavy late, so you don't want to do too much moving, absorbing too much energy. And another thing is the clinching.
I was gonna get right to that.
Clinching is a big thing here. You feel me? If you're the bigger guy, impose that. You understand what I'm saying? But you got to be careful because Boots is really good at throwing that little uppercut inside. Yeah. So if you're going to crowd right, and you got to anticipate the crowd properly. Miss it. If you misread it, you might walk into something yourself.
You're right. Right. No, you make a lot of good points. I mean, you beat me right to it with the clinching. I mean, that's going to be pretty interesting too because, Xander, man, going in his face, me a big boy. And
he's big. He's big. He's gonna rehydrate something crazy too. He's gonna be big on purpose.
And it's one thing. We've seen guys that are the smaller guys that beat bigger guys, but a lot of times the bigger guys aren't the boxers or even a quarter of what those are. That would be the smaller guy moving up, or a lot of the boxing and the movement offsets that. This is a situation where we're talking about the bigger guy having the boxing acumen, you know what I mean? So and not saying Boots doesn't have it, but again, for the quote unquote bigger guy in this division, and again, to be fair, it's not like this dramatic size difference, but for Boots being the one technically that's moved up at this point, and he feels comfortable before, he's fighting a guy that's probably a middleweight, like really a middleweight.
Yeah, he's big. Yeah, they're it's crazy because they're both kind of big for 54. I don't see either one of them staying there, but for now, this is what we got.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny too because the defense, because they were both, kind of like, getting on each other about getting teed off on. Both guys get hit. That's what makes this interesting. Both of them can get caught on the line. Boots been on the line. Xander been on the line. So that's going to be interesting to see, what is anybody, going to stand on the line, in this fight, or there's going to be constant movement, but I do think that like Boots is going to, early on impose his speed and his athleticism to get up here. Like, this way out your league. And that's why I said, Xander got to not get overwhelmed by that. Like I used the Bernard line. Sometimes it might got to be a staring contest. Fans might not like it. You might got to take a round or two to try to figure out what it is you're trying to do. Mm-hmm. But if you go in there, which I don't think he got a real patient corner. Got a real patient corner, real patient team, and they don't seem to panic a lot. So I think that they're not going to be like, oh my God, we got to hurry up. We're down 3 rounds. Let's get back into this fight. So
yeah. That's why the corner, to me, the corner is going to be a key role in this fight too, man. I mean, obviously, depending on how everything goes, but we're in the mid-rounds, and it's like even up, and we don't know. Like, they're going to have to, like, figure out a way to make adjustments to either sway the judges.
I would love that. If that happens, that means we got a really good fight on our hands. Yeah. That's another thing. I don't hear a lot of people talking about this. There's a very good chance this fight goes 12. Go to 12.
I mean, honestly, man. I mean, if I were a betting man, like I think it's gonna go 12. I mean, I'm not gonna like.
I believe so too.
But like I think it's gonna go 12 rounds, and I think, like honestly, I keep hitting the point of timing. Now, timing can mean a couple things. I mean, timing can be. The hype that is behind Boots finally presents itself, and he
levels up. He just shows that it's a distance.
Arrived.
Right. No, because that's a scenario. I know you talked about that earlier. That's a very possible scenario. That listen, there's levels for a reason. It doesn't mean Xander's a bad fighter. He just might not be on Boots' level.
Right.
Yeah, right. And look, we don't do triangle thirds. That don't mean he can't beat a Fundora or a Virgil. He just can't beat Boots. If that was to happen, I mean, you know what? You just fought a great fighter. That might be the new generational fighter of this generation. So, the one thing too, for Xander and his team, remember, like Boots don't have like Gervonta type power or like Wilder. Boots is he catch you with a staggering shot, and I'm going to continue working from there, and I'll fit. He's a good closer, but it's not like you get hit with a good shot. You just got to behave like a fighter off of it immediately. And that's where wrapping up, not not hitting the panic button, get the cobwebs out and come back out the next round. But, you just clinching and movement is pivotal in this fight, and I think I know this is like a really lame cliche, but whoever able to use the civilizer the best, may come out victorious, and that's the jab, so, Boots can't, go head hunting, bringing the sledgehammer out, because the sledgehammer allows for counters. When you go hunting with an axe and that sledgehammer out of desperation, that's when you can kind of get, because this guy's a good counterpuncher. He's a very polished fighter. Like, he's young, but he's polished for his age. And the same applies for Xander. Like, he can't go in there, trying to like set Boots up with wild haymakers and all that, because he'll get countered.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it, man. It should be a great event. I'm not really thrilled about the undercard, but that's another story for another day.
Yeah.
See what's happening, bro. In modern day boxing, why the undercards are so messed up. The budgets, they paying the main event, and I'm happy that the main event guys are getting paid, but it's diluting the undercard. Like, bro, the Spence and Crawford, that might have been one of the worst undercards in big fight history, bro.
Yeah.
It was so bad. Like, I know Pitbull I forget I forget his name. I was like, what?
Yeah. The fight he might have lost. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Huh.
But anyway, yeah, so you got Vargas, you got Ben Whitaker. I mean, he's coming to America, I guess.
Yeah.
Vargas' sons is fighting on the card. Who else we got on there?
There's somebody else. Oh man, I can't.
They're all like glorified mismatches though. There's no like.
Yeah, I thought Shusha, they put him on that card, being that'd be ideal. There's in New York.
Look at me
on the card next month
in
Ohio.
Look. Where they gonna pay him? He not, with all due respect, he don't want to get paid with them guys is getting paid. I'm sure, he brought a nice crowd out. I was at that fight when Shakur Portillo. He's not. I'm not saying that he's Mike Tyson from Brownsville type of crowd, but he has recognition now where he can probably showcase his own card now. So
yeah, he'll be fighting on the Abdullah Mason card next month.
That's a nice little card too.
Yeah. It would have been nice for him to be on this one though. But yeah, I'm excited, man. I mean, I know you can
Me too, bro.
prediction later in the week.
I'll get my
But I'm real excited. I'm glad the fight's happening. And I think it's just really the winner, like, to be honest, it's gonna be next stage, man. Like, it's gonna be
next stage
up from that point, and they're gonna be a key player in the division, whether it means we get a full-on unification, undisputed, whatever the case is. But I feel the winner. There's going to be argument to be made that some people would believe the winner of this fight is going to be the best in the division. So I think
yeah. No, go ahead. I was going to say something about David.
I think that just adds to the overall excitement for the for the fight itself.
I just find it ironic that Golden Boy and Virgil is patching up this beef.
Oh yeah, man! Like
this week, given what's taking place, it's like the timing is like okay, because I do think that. All right, for selfish reasons, obviously, I still want to see Boots and Virgil, and even if whatever, I still want to see it. But I do think Virgil's going to take the winner of this fight, not the loser. But
yeah,
I just think that Virgil is the fight. Still the fight. I know a lot of people think he's one. Listen, Virgil is the wild card in that division.
Mm-hmm.
We still got to see him here, obviously with, top tier competition. Last time I saw him was obviously in Madrid. I do think that he'll end up getting the winner of this fight, and that's going to be the mega fight. That fight, whoever it is, because you got Puerto Rico versus Mexico. Then you got
the beat me right to it. Like, this, like, let's just argue that Xander wins, right? You got, and then Virgil becomes the fight. You just said it, man. Puerto Rico, Mexico, all over again. So
that's monumental. That's a Vegas fight, by the way. That's got to be in Vegas. Yeah.
Oh man, that'll be just again. It'll be a bit back to square one, man. I mean, we see this time and time again.
Time and time again. Yeah. Real quick before we go, let me just ask you this. If it was to go to the cards, right? What do you think? So if we get to the cards, that means it's a close fight. Because I don't see we get into the cards where Xander just in some survivor mode.
It
I
depends,
mean, he
man.
was in
Like
the fight.
it gotta be like, because like another scenario could be where Boots is just looking flashier and he's
Okay.
winning those rounds, but he's not
Yeah.
necessarily hurting Xander. So when they
Okay.
go to the scorecards, it's like, all right, you know who the winner is. But I know what you're talking about is when you consider the crowd. This is one point my brother
Right.
always makes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
When you think about the situations, right? Like Boot, like Xander lands like a left uppercut and another uppercut,
Yeah.
and then like Boots doesn't do anything in that round.
Ah!
Then the
Right.
crowd goes crazy.
Yeah.
What's the judge gonna
Yeah. Two punches get landed, and it looked like he staggered Boots.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so many pieces, man, and it's why like there's a lot of elements in this fight that to me I feel make it much more exciting than I feel people are giving it credit for. But like I said, man, I'm excited. I'm ready to go, man. I just can't wait to see
Yeah.
the fight. I
I think
think
it's gonna be a good fight. I
it's
think
a
it's gonna be a lot better than what people think it's gonna be. It's gonna be a good
no,
fight.
for sure, man.
Yeah.
Look,
I think it's a good
expect the
fight.
unexpected. I
Yeah.
always say,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
um, all we ever ask is people, we cover it, we cover the sport, we're fans of the sport. Just make the best fights possible, and
Make
that's
the
why I
best
said
fights
if they weren't
possible.
making Virgil in
Yeah.
this fight, and again, Fedora's the anomaly because it's like we get the whole political situation with that, but that's the next best fight was him and Xander, meeting Boots and
By the way,
Xander. The fact
James
that they got
Tony
it done, I'm all for it, man. Like, but it's gonna be what's gonna be.
was 23 when he beat Michael Nunn. He was losing damn near every
And
round
what
in that
happened?
fight.
And what happened?
So you gotta let these guys off the leash. You
Yeah.
gotta let them fight. People always like to bring up Vargas. They always like to bring up, but here's the thing that get lost in the Vargas story. If you really break it down, he didn't do too bad. He beat Winky, even though that was he beat Ike Corte, and then he lost to Tito and De La Hoya.
And
So
he
he
dropped
went
Tito twice.
and he dropped. Yeah, he went 2-2. So that's not bad actually.
And those guys are all-time great.
And the reason why I was getting ready to say, and the difference is he was fighting all-time greats, not just who's that guy, and that's why we still talk about Vargas all these years later.
Yeah. He
He's
just
not
came up in
some
an era, man, where
unsung
it was
hero.
yeah.
So
I mean, but I just think it's one of those things where both guys' careers, either win or lose, is going to change after Saturday night. So we're just going to see who's, or to be honest, it could be more of this too. Where the loser may come out like, damn, man, like I earned my stripes, which is
what if it was a draw?
that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, like,
and they got to run it back.
Yeah, run it back
because these fights do good business. They run it back.
Yeah.
Can't rule nothing out. Like you said, you always got to expect the unexpected,
Yeah. So I think it's an interesting fight, man. DAZN this weekend, man. That's all I got. I mean, the summer's going to be...
We'll try to come back on maybe like Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. We'll cover what ends up happening. So, all right. Until then, man, I'm out.